Hello everybody, Ghostblade 1062 here with another locomotive review. Today we will be looking at one of the new Norfolk Southern AC44C6Ms in the blue and black main scheme from ScaleTrain's Rivet counter line that I had pre-ordered. And now let's move on to the unboxing. Alright, taking a look at the box, we have our typical red and white ScaleTrain's box with the Rivet counter logo in the center. And then we have our locomotive type along the bottom left here. This being the GE AC44C6Ms. On the bottom, top, and left sides we have the ScaleTrain's logo, while on the right side of the box we have some information about the locomotive itself, starting with a drawing of the locomotive. We see that it is a GE Norfolk Southern AC44C6M rebuild, and it is road number 4004 in the black and blue main scheme, 2016 to present. It is equipped with an ESU lock sound decoder, and it is product number SXT39887. And then on the back of the box we have some prototype information as well as a list of included features and some information about ScaleTrain's as a manufacturer. And now opening up the box, we have first of all have our manual, which has information in regards to handling, cleaning, lubrication, DCC operations, decoder installation instructions, CVs, our function chart, and some more detailed information about the various functions, and basic programming instructions. And now, underneath this sheet of foam, we have the clamshell, which holds our locomotive. And sliding off this outer sleeve here, we first of all have a little baggie full of spare rotating bearing caps. And now opening it up, we get access to our locomotive. And the first thing we are going to want to do is remove the truck immobilizer so that the locomotive can sit properly. Otherwise it would tip over if we try to set it down. And then we'll just remove these foam pieces as well, which are in place to protect the handrails. And there we are. And here we have our locomotive, and next we will move on to the detail overview section of the video. Alright, time to take a closer look at the locomotive. Starting at the head end here, we have our plow, and coming from that we have our silver-tipped MU cables as well as our brake line hose. We also have our hose here. Then going up further, we have our yellow painted grab irons and handrails which go up to the central platform that is sitting above the coupler here, with our ditch lights on either side. And we have our molded chain detailing here made out of plastic. We also have our grab irons going up to the top of the front of the short hood with grab irons around. And we have our sand filler hatches on either side here. We also have our molded in door which leads into the cab of the locomotive. Moving up to the windows, we have our separately fitted windshield wipers, followed by our number lights and backlit number boards and headlights. Now moving on to the side here, we can see that we have the yellow painting on the steps for the yellow caution paint. Looking at the wheels, we can see that Skillet Trains from the factory has done some weathering on the actual wheels, giving them a rust color. And they have on all wheels, on the front truck at least, and the center axle on the rear truck are all with rotating bearing caps. Now moving up to the cab, we have our see-through windows with a sunshade above. And below that we have our road number, as well as some information depicting that this locomotive was converted from DC to AC. Then moving on, just behind the cab here, with the blue main cutting halfway through it, we have our AC converter box. And we have our yellow painted steps going up to the top of it. On the fuel tank here, we have our fuel gauge, as well as our filling cap and emergency shutoff. On the back, moving closer to the back here, we have the Norfolk Southern logo. And then going further back, we have our separately fitted brake wheel. And if you look through behind, you can see that we have see-through mesh radiator gridding. Looking at the rear truck, we can see our brake cylinder detailing, as well as suspension detailing on all the axles, and a chain running to the top of the truck. And then on the back of the unit here, we again have our yellow painted caution paint on the steps going up to the rear walkway. Looking at the rear of the locomotive, we again have our plow, we have our silver-tipped MU cables and brake line. We have our walkway here on the back with our handrails and molded chain detailing. We have our rear ditch lights. And then we have grab irons going up to the top of the back of the locomotive. And just to the right of that, we have our rear lights. And on the back center here, we have the Norfolk Southern Stallion. Now, moving on to this side of the locomotive, we again have most of the detailing on the main body is the same, minus the AC converter box. Instead, we have a rear door going into the cab here with its own windshield wiper. However, we do see some differences on the fuel tank. The fuel gauge is much further to the front of the tank, and this is due to the two air reservoir tanks that are on the side here. On the underside of the locomotive, we don't have any additional detailing. However, looking at the top of the locomotive, we do have some detailing, including our PTC antenna arrays here on top of the cab. We also have our 5-chime horn, which is separately fitted, and our separately fitted exhaust here, which is painted a nice silver. And then we have our molded etched plastic radiator grills here. And that covers our detail overview of the locomotive. So next, we will move on to the rip track segment of the video. Alright, time for the rip track segment of the video. To start off with, we are going to verify the wheel gauge of the locomotive, followed by checking the coupler height of the factory couplers. And then finally, we are going to be replacing the factory couplers with KD number 158s. So, starting on the rear truck here, axle number 1 is engaged, axle number 2 is good, number 3 is good. Now onto the front truck, axle 1 is good, axle 2 is good, and axle 3 is good. So all 6 of our axles are engaged. Right, that's the right. Let's see, the front coupler is at proper height. As is the rear coupler. So the factory couplers are both at proper height. But now, on to replacing them with the KD magnetic knuckle couplers. So to start off with, I'm going to have to unscrew the coupler box. And we have quite the long screw here. And now that we have the coupler box unscrewed, we can just slide it out the end here. And we just pop it open like this. And we can take out our coupler and the copper spring that's inside. And now to close it up, if I can get my alignment right, there we go. We have the new front coupler in place. So, oh, popped open the coupler box, putting it back in. There we go. I was catching on the brake line. So now I can screw the coupler back in. And we still have our proper mobility. That's coupler number 1. Now for the rear coupler. That's the old coupler out. And the new coupler is now reassembled in the coupler box. And we still have proper mobility on the coupler. Now we just need to verify the coupler height on the new couplers. Right, front truck is on. Right, we are sitting at just a touch low. I will have to adjust the coupler trip pins as well, as they are catching on the gauge, which means they would be causing trouble on switches as well. And the rear coupler is drooping a fair bit, so I will have to fix that at a later point in time. I just don't currently have the material to do so. However, next we will take the locomotive over to the track for a function test. Time to begin the function test on this locomotive. To start off with, we're going to test the speed prior to running in. I have set off camera the locomotive to 128 speed steps. So at speed step 1, it has a fairly steady movement. And it does have this air let-off sound as well. Now, starting with the actual functions, starting with F0 being our main directional headlight. Which of course changes with the direction of travel. Function 1 is the bell. Function 2 is the horn, coupled with the bell. Function 3 is the handbrake. Despite the instruction booklet saying it's coupler clank, that is an oversight on scale trains. Function 4 is dynamic brakes. Function 5 is the DPU lights. Function 6 is the ditch lights, which flash when the horn is sounded. Function 7 is unassigned. So moving on to function 8, the prime mover startup. And this also activates the number board lights and walkway lights. Function 9 is our drive hold. Function 10, our independent brake. Function 11 is the radiator fan. Function 12 is the headlight dimmer, which also deactivates the ditch lights. Function 13 is the air dryer. Function 14 turns off the number board lights. Function 15 is the isolation switch. Function 17 is the auto brake set and release. Function 18 is the sanding valve. Function 19 is the short air let-off. Function 20 is the air compressor. Function 21 is unassigned. 22 is the cab door. (23) is the engine hood door. Function 24 is the reverser center. 25 is the cooling shutters. 26 is manual notch up. 27 manual notch down. 28 is manual notching logic. Then 29 we have load simulation. And finally function 30 is automatic brake. So now that we have gone through the functions, I'm going to run the locomotive and take some video of it while it runs in. Alright everybody, this concludes my review of the Scale Trains Rivet counter, Norfolk Southern AC44C6M, in the blue and black main paint scheme, road number 4004. All in all, a very beautiful locomotive. I have it currently running in, and so far it's running very smoothly. It has very nice slow speed control. The sound was very clear on it. No issues with the lighting, which I have had on some locomotives in the past. All in all, a very beautiful locomotive and one that I would highly recommend. That being said, if you enjoyed the video, leave a like or a comment, and subscribe for more model railroad content. Have a great day, everybody!